Okay, so let's call this meeting of the joint meeting of the Historical Commission and the Planning Board to order. And we're here to discuss the fact that the town council voted against adding to the historical district, which we all have recommended they do. And we're going to talk about the priorities of what we believe should be added, and if there are areas that we think cannot be added. And I'd like to start with the Ocean Avenue.
Margie, could you open the planning board portion of, just because it's a joint meeting and it was posted.
Okay, I will officially open the meeting for the Historical District Commission and the Planning Board for Tuesday, the 20th of January.
Jen, did you get the attendance?
I have, yes.
What
Do you want to do a roll call?
No, just make sure that we have it written down. Who's there?
Yes, I will do
All right.
that.
I'd like to start with Ocean Avenue and get people's feeling on should we try to persist in adding that to the historical district, and if so, why?
So is that area 1 on the map?
That's
The handouts?
yes. It's my feeling that the area across the street from it on both sides is in the district. And it just doesn't make sense that one side of the street is not in the district and the other side is. So please jump in and tell me what you think.
I agree. I believe that that should be our first priority, is the area around New Harbor, so that it is consistent and we are able to protect some of the historical buildings that are already there and might be renovated over the next several years. I think it's extremely important that also that we be consistent, that an area should all be in it or all not be in it, but not mixed.
And I support that. And to add to what Margie's comment was, I would add that it has public support, which is key.
Elizabeth Moss here. I generally support that. I do take exception to the property at plot in lot 592. I think that's the new spring house. Reason being, as a new built, I think in terms of historic district, that ship has sailed a little bit. And particularly the smaller building on that property has, I think, detracts from historic context with that ground floor stone veneer. So I think that actually detracts from the historic district, particularly the smaller of those two buildings. So I support the expansion of the rest on Ocean Avenue, and I think it really does help preserve the overall historic context of the properties already within the historic district. And I think there's significant contributing buildings as well as contributing historic landscape on the remaining properties listed in Area 1 up for proposed inclusion.
Except there again, the property across the street, which is the power company property, is in the district. So
Also, what about the thought that if it's in, if the new spring house is in the historic district, any further changes that they make would have to come through both planning board and historic district, and we'd have a chance to have a number of eyes take a look at it and make suggestions if we feel that what they're proposing is not appropriate or could be improved upon.
and it was also suggested that lot 590 be included as well. I have no definite decision or recommendation on that.
Arlene, that doesn't show that on the maps. Which one
No,
is
it
that?
doesn't.
It's just to the left.
Just to the left
592.
of this new spring house.
Okay,
Or
Margie, that was added,
good.
at the
Thank you.
end of the discussion, by
Okay,
the
so we got-
HDC and the planning. Plat 5 lot 90.
Somewhere I have an area of one, but I can't find it.
It's area 1.
Yeah, and I have an area one in here somewhere in my.
You wanna look at one?
That's all right. I looked at Elizabeth's. So, and I do have that in my phone somewhere and I can't find it.
I think it's in the back.
Okay, I'll find it. It's this.
We also have a spreadsheet of the districts, the zoning district. So if you have any questions about our residential A zone, D zone, just ask and I can provide you with that information.
Jen, I have a procedural question. Are we going to vote on each separate discussion? In other words, right now, would we vote on this particular topic or do we vote at the very end?
I would try to reach a consensus for area 1, 2, and 3, like do them separately.
Yeah,
And then, is it posted?
yeah.
Discussion or do you say?
That was just.
Yeah. I feel very strongly that we do each section separately. I think if we had done that to start with, that section would be, would have been approved by the town council. It was the other sections that they had some concerns about. I did not hear them raise many concerns about the area around New Harbor.
So
Okay.
you're reaching consensus today and then you're gonna vote at your
Right.
meetings, at your regular monthly meetings.
Okay,
And then also you need to add that language about the historical significance.
Any comments from the other end of the table?
I agree. Excuse me, sorry. I agree with Elizabeth, on the corner of that lot. The ship has sailed with the Spring House and they don't have any space to do anything else anymore. If they're opposed, then I'd be okay with just including the street to the corner.
They haven't been opposed.
no, they're not opposed, at least for what I was told, they are not opposed. That
If they're not, then, well,
Frank doesn't have a problem with it.
you already built it.
The only,
I know, I'm worried about renovations down the road, and we all know that with salt air and sea and so
Oh,
forth,
certainly.
there are gonna be renovations.
I agree with Margie on that.
I was there, Frank went by and he asked me, he says, Mark, do you know why I bought this property? And I go, why? He said, it's not in the historic district.
who said that, Frank?
Frank,
So
yeah, he's run into a few problems with the historic district and the planning board over the years with the Spring House, but that's okay. He's a good guy. He can handle it.
Works out.
The one that had the most questions about this area was 59695, Charlie Gustafson. I think it's 96,
596?
yeah. But it was basically questions.
Okay. That's,
If I recall, he was opposed
Yeah,
at the council meeting, so you may want to look at that property and see what the historical significance would be, and I mean, it would be kind of strange to have one lot
One
out
lot.
of that district, but
Well, the house on 596, I think has historical significance. And 9-5, they did a nice job building what they built there. And so he didn't need historic district to do a nice job there, so we commend them for that. But if those properties are, well, one of them already has been sold, but if renovations are needed on 596, it would make sense for them to go to historic district, I think.
And I don't think Charlie is raving opposed. I think he was more concerned and had questions that I think were
Yeah, I think-
somewhat assuaged at the meeting. So, I mean, I think he could easily.
yeah, I think you're right.
I think he would just, at that meeting, we had people throwing around saying, oh, I can't paint my shed a color. These things are not true.
No.
And I think Charlie just needed to be informed that you know, all the noise from the outside was not in fact true, that we weren't gonna tell them what color to paint. And Charlie, as you said, is a good owner and a good part of the community. Those houses are always well maintained.
So not every property needs to be historic to be in the historic district. It's either contributing to the district or it's not. And so when you are adding properties, we just overall need to understand why the boundaries of the district are changing and why certain properties are being included or not.
And Charlie's property is in mixed use. So you definitely have properties on this list that are in the residential A zone, but that side of Ocean Ave is mixed use until you get to the corner and then it turns into RB, so.
Yeah, when we first talked about adding, we decided we wouldn't say like 200 feet back from the road. We said each property would be added so that it would take in the whole property, not just a portion of a property.
I think ultimately when it gets time to a vote for each of our respective groups, we should have an inventory which does list whether it's a contributing or not property to the comment that was just made. Because yes, while, you know, for the Spring House, while I think the new smaller building is not contributing for it to be in the historic district, it's not precluded from being in it, but it should be noted as such, I think.
Yeah, and just to include in there, you know, the aspects of adding the other side of Ocean Avenue and adding New Harbor, all that stuff should be in the record, the written record.
Yeah, particularly if you want to add the building, the lot that is next to the new Spring House. It would then certainly want to have it, you know, that area to be consistent. Run that whole section. So that's up to
Yeah.
you guys, whether you want to make that recommendation.
Well, we're
to
gonna
us
have to vote on this at our
at your meeting.
So can we move on to area 2 or do we have to have a?
I would say we should probably move on to area 3 and then come back to area 2, as that's
Okay.
probably gonna have the most debate.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I think
So, yeah, I think we-
HDC should add whether or not, maybe at your next meeting or a future meeting, add whether or not it's a contributing structure or it
Correct.
isn't, right?
And you could
Just
be-
so the
Right,
planning board
it-
doesn't work on
That
it.
should fall on us.
Yes.
Yeah.
okay.
And then, so I won't put it on our agenda until we get the material from you guys, and then we can,
okay, now is it a
Finish.
contributing structure or is it a contributing property? Because some of these properties have no structure on them, but.
Well, that's for us to,
it's for you guys to
that's
be,
for us to
be-
suss out.
be creative.
Well, and there.
I was just trying to get a legal opinion.
There are guidelines and protocols for
Yeah.
us to.
So the HDC has control over, you know, construction and alteration of structures. So that could include, I think, stone walls and fences, depending on the local rules of a property that doesn't have buildings. But if someone took a vacant property and wanted to build something on it, and it was in a historic district, they would need to go to the Historic District Commission.
That's exactly
Okay.
why I want some of this material.
Yeah, and
be in
there's
the
some
Historic district, so there are
guidance
more eyes
about-
looking at it.
the purposes of the local historic district in section 7.3 of the town's code of ordinances. So we could send that around to folks as they're working on deciding which properties are contributing or not.
Okay, so I take it the consensus is that we include area 1. Is our first priority to go to the town council? Is that correct?
Yeah. Has
Okay.
everybody agreed on that?
Everybody agrees on that? Okay. And we'll leave it to the historic district as to what you want to do with those 2 properties and make a recommendation to us. And then we
Okay.
can talk about whether we agree or disagree with you.
All right, let's do
Okay,
what
what do you
Bill
want
would
there?
like, which is area 3, which is the reason we brought this out is part of the homes on this property are on this site are in the district and some aren't. And it was catch as catch can when it was first designated back in the eighties, I think. So we're proposing to add both sides of the street there.
Both sides of the street on Connecticut Avenue,
Yes, Connecticut Avenue.
but earlier you had said that to be consistent, you would consider both sides of the street.
Well-
But you're not on Old Town Road,
Well,
considering. both
no, in
sides.
Old Town Road, I don't know why we've got all of them on Old Town Road. I think certainly the corner one and the next one should be in. But,
When you say the corner
When you
and
say
the next
corner-
one, which one?
519,
19.
619 and 618.
Yeah,
646, what do you consider?
It's 6,
640, I can't tell which one is 646.
yeah.
Oh. Yeah, 646 isn't part of what's recommended.
Well, were you saying that it should be another one recommended? I'm unclear on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting.
In which one?
646.
Lot 46.
Yeah, that's a wonderful house.
but not going up to the High View.
So you'd want to put in six
I think it
46.
should go all the way up Old Town Road, but that's a whole nother ballgame. And all the way along Old Town Road to town, including the town hall, but that's a much larger.
But at least 646 would complete
Swap.
the corner and give the
Yeah.
context of.
And not 652.
Yeah, I was gonna say-
If you're talking about corners. Yeah, this,
And the owners of, I don't know if it's.
Yeah, where do you stop?
yeah, that's what I was wondering. If their
641 or
theory is do
642.
both sides, why not?
Was at the meeting, and they had questions, but they really didn't mind being in the district. Because
I
they were
know.
doing renovations to the house in context with historic.
'Cause
Well,
there's
641's
beautiful
on Connecticut Avenue.
Right.
I think we're jumping around, but
Well, we're talking about adding this other side of the street and a couple of other
well,
properties.
before we talk about adding, can we just maybe come to consensus or not on what's currently?
And you're also going into the residential B zone, so I don't know if that's something.
But so is 5.
So Jen, in area,
That one.
Yeah.
Yes,
I was
Pardon?
having trouble with
so
that.
Jen, in area 3, as currently proposed, is everything in the same zoning?
I'm looking at that, right, they're not all in the same zone.
And does that really matter?
Yeah.
No,
I just.
I think you were looking at the zones, some are RC, service commercial.
I don't know that this should be, any of it should be based on
42.
zone. It's really,
No,
No, that's,
because there's always gonna be that border.
Yeah.
yeah, I
You're gonna
agree
bump
with,
into a border at some point.
wherever we stop, that's the border. So I agree with you. We would need to put it in to be consistent with an area, but not necessarily worry about what zone it's in. I don't really care.
So 641 is RB, 42, 43, 46, 44. They're all RB. I know that a couple of the council members asked about the zoning and whether or not it's commercial.
Yeah.
So
well, 633 is in the district right now. So
41, 42, 43, and 44 are RB. Yes, 33
is in the historic district right now.
it is. Did I say that one? No.
No, but I'm not talking about zoning, I'm just talking about what's in and what's out. But I guess doing this will add that little dog leg that 633 has.
633 is RC.
And what's being proposed is supported by that community?
So far,
Good.
we hadn't put in 646, but I think Gail is right. It should be.
What about the
Worth
ones on
considering.
Old Town across the road there? If that's the rationale for this exercise, why aren't they being included as well across Old Town Road? 652, 656, 657. Yeah, that. and
You've
then
got
that
an
house
argument
on
for it.
652 is quite nice. If that's the rationale being used for the argument, I'm just curious about that one, and then I'm sorry, going back to where we were before. We're not including down towards Legion Park as proposed for expansion either.
Not including one.
As you're heading down West Side Road toward Legion Park, around that corner. Across from Champlin's, or across from Boat Basin.
Yeah, it's hard to find a spot.
I know,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know.
right.
I just, if we're gonna continue, I wanna be fair to people. If we're gonna say we're including your lot because it's across the street from the historic district. I think we should be consistent with that, and maybe I'm going too far in that direction. I think there is a balance to be struck, but I'm just curious what why it stopped there. And why these other lots that are across the street are not being considered for inclusion.
I agree. And if you are going to make proposals today for expanding, I think the public needs to be informed first before we can vote on that.
I would suggest focusing on the lots that you've proposed rather than adding more lots right now, unless
Then-
right, then we would
Then the
be
language
failing.
needs to
Then I would then I would change our rationale here, because if the rationale is to include, to expand the district to make sure that both sides of the road are captured. I don't know exactly if that's being achieved by this proposal. So I think then we need to go back to what our planner was saying, which is looking at each individual lot and saying, okay, this adds to the district. We need to we need to include this because it actually adds to the district, not because it's just located in a certain spot. That's my own opinion, but I'm not an expert.
I think that's logical.
Compelling argument.
Claire, just to clarify on my position is, yes, you should look at each property, but a property does not need to be contributing in order to be included in the district.
Oh, boy.
There should be a
I guess-
rationale as to why it's included.
I
but
guess then I'll
yeah.
own that rationale. I think that in
Yeah.
order to be included in the historic district, it should have a historic component significance that
Or
yeah.
or to that end, it should be, if part of the impetus was the map was very jagged and
Yeah.
seemingly haphazard when this was done, then based on the inventory, if there is a significant property, for example, on the corner, like in area 1 that we did, the Barrington, I mean,
Mhm.
that's a cornerstone property.
Mhm.
And then within going down the road, if there are identifiable significant historic properties. But within that, there's a non-contributing one. I think that makes sense to include expand the district. And then clearly identify within the expanded district, such and such inventory is not a contributing. And have that clearly stated. So whoever that homeowner is, it's clear when they come before us, there's a different level of scrutiny.
Good point.
Well, and I mean, can we use the argument that we're adding these properties because they will have, any change will have impact? They're.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Whether they're developed or not developed.
Yes.
The development or change or renovations, what have you, will have impact. And our goal is to keep the historic texture,
Is to manage that. change.
architecture. Yeah.
Because, but a non.
Keep the character.
Right,
Mhm.
basically our change happens, how do we manage that change
Mm-hmm.
appropriately?
And just for argument's sake, because I love to argue,
No.
if we go back to Claire's point and push for consistency on both sides of the street, I think adding the properties that we were just discussing is a relatively small bullet to bite. And unless my point is going to be moot, if the Historic Commission has no future plans, if it has future plans for expansion still, because I'm saying what I predict will happen from this meeting is we will drop a big bullet and we could add a small one and do it all at once.
When was the last time there was an expansion?
Of the district?
Oh, I'm.
1980s, I think.
90,
well, I think it was long time like back.
90.
We've had a couple of homeowners have their properties designated as historic properties.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of properties. Yeah.
And built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's two properties.
But I don't believe there's been any change to a whole section or district. In a
Not that I
long, long time,
recall.
and I can't remember.
I know it was discussed in the
I think
nineties,
mine-
my parents,
I think
when they
mine-
owned the Barrington, it came forward and they were addressed, and
it was 80.
my father's
80s,
point was, where do you
86,
start? You know, the house was renovated so many different times and with different architecture and different dormers and everything, windows, the whole works, but, that was then, but that would have been in late eighties, early nineties.
I mean, I definitely think it's time for an update. I have absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. But exactly what you all want to recommend to us is up to you. And then Louise said that we either agree or make suggestions on what you might want to consider.
So then, just to summarize, I would support Claire's original proposal, and that is to have this final plan include the rationale of both sides of the street.
Just to clarify, so my feeling on this is that any property that's being suggested to be added to the historic district should come with a rationale for why that specific property. I'm less compelled by having both sides of the street and more compelled by
Okay.
preserving specific properties that contribute to the overall feel of this district. That's where I end up on this.
Okay, and I'm on both sides of the street.
Actually, both of your points are very valid. I think they need to be,
Fleshed out.
yes, thank you. Good word.
I say go
That's a
for
point.
it. I think both sides of the street is a good point of view. But I don't think each property has to. You can see each property in context of the whole.
And that should
So-
be mentioned.
Right.
Because, for example, if there is a property that has not been built upon, but it is surrounded by area that is all part of the historic district, that piece of property belongs in the historic district simply because it is surrounded by properties that are historic, and that we want to make sure that what is built there eventually is compatible with the entire neighborhood.
Well, even if it has been built upon, like our library has nothing to do with the National Book. But it's still part of the context or the texture of the district.
I don't,
Do we need to take a step back and have a more detailed inventory of each proposed property that we're including?
I think that would help the town council feel justified in making decisions. Yeah.
Which it would help put it in context.
Yes.
Give the level, the hierarchy of significance.
Yeah, I think.
And there can be more than one significance to a piece of property.
Yeah, the landscape and as Peter said.
Location could be one of them.
Yeah,
I
and
also think adding
with that-
some of the general information in your guidelines, like that color is not included and the
Yes.
process,
What
so
does-
that we
what-
could send that to the homeowners before
Yeah,
your next meetings where you're gonna vote, because that came up at that council meeting as well.
because
And
people
just
don't really
what's the-
know what
yeah.
historic district
Yeah,
is.
What does it
somebody-
mean?
Yeah.
Somebody thought that we would regulate how they mow their lawn.
Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity. What
Educate.
you're bringing up is it goes to helping to educate. And I think that's clearly you know, your low hanging fruit here.
So just a couple of quick examples here, not necessarily on the specifics of the properties, but like lot 622 here is in the middle of a block. It's not necessarily visible from the right of way, but if you replaced it with a big modern building, it could have an impact on this structure here, part of lot 620, which maybe is historic. And then, over here at lot 644, it's a vacant lot, but it's right next to, 643, which maybe is historic, and similarly, you could build something there that would impact this historic asset. Those are just two examples of the kind of analysis that I think folks are looking for.
Yeah,
Yeah, that language is really important to help people understand why, especially council, to understand what your criteria is and what your, really what your mission is. You'll get more support there.
And I would hate to see somebody put up a Butler building, that's one of those steel, corrugated steel buildings in the middle of the district.
So I think the consensus is that we add this area 3 to HDC's list of proposed changes.
Right.
And they figure out whether or not they want to include several other pieces of property there and make a recommendation to us with a justification for why each piece of property would be included in the addition to the HDC.
And that would be 646, 652, 656, and 657.
Depending on the results of our inventory and recommendation.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you may decide you want to add more or less. I'm gonna
Yeah.
leave that up to you guys. We're not telling you what to add. We will either agree or disagree when it comes to us and then explain why. Most of the time we agree, but every now and then we look at something from a slightly different viewpoint and could come up with a reason why we think something should or should not be included. Okay?
Let's move on to area 2.
I guess my first question with area 2 is, do we even want to tackle this at this point? Or do we want to do the other 2 and see how it goes and come back to 3, since there has been a lot of concern about this particular addition to the historic district?
I agree with that, Margie, and I think that, all the small lots is taken care of because that's all now part of the
Right.
conservancy.
Right.
Yes, and that was a major concern a year ago or whatever.
And that's part of why I was asking, when was the last time this was updated? Is there an opportunity to update in 5 years from now, or? But
I mean-
or is that just
But
a
why,
nuisance to the community?
these have some of the greatest impact. I
I
don't know
know.
why we would
Yeah.
leave them. Why would we set them aside now? When
Agreed. My question was also not just for this area.
No.
Just in general.
My thought was, see how successful we are with the first 2 sections that we would take to the town council. See what goes without comment, see what people have to, what their concerns are, whether or not town council passes anything before we tackle this one, which is a little more complicated, I think, than the other 2.
It's a lot of,
why is it complicated?
it's a lot of resistance.
What?
So-
Here, I'll
A number of
I'll lay it out in
owners-
open meeting.
a number-
There are residents who are attorneys who have already said they will fight this area's expansion. I mean, I'll just say it out loud.
That's fine.
So if we want to get any headway, and I think the point that was made was, let's take the low lying fruit, maybe get a little bit of momentum before we tackle something that does have resistance. And
I agree. This is
unfortunately, I hate to
important.
say it, but when the resident is an attorney, he can file whatever he wants again and again and again. It doesn't cost him $150 an hour. That makes a
That's
huge
cheap.
difference. What, you know what I mean?
For 600 an hour.
Plus, I,
$600 an hour.
Sure.
plus
He's
I-
probably charging it to somebody else while he writes our motion.
I'm curious too. I mean, I hear your point, Margie, but I'm curious too, since you're proposing 3 areas, why not continue to propose area 2? And also, have you heard back from the family who, I think some of us from planning went to your meeting when you proposed this to the council? And the
missed that.
family spoke with the O'Briens, they spoke and asked why they weren't included earlier in your process about choosing, looking at their family compound. Have you heard back from them? Have you reached out to them to ask how they would like to be included? Have you been in
No.
conversation with them since that town council meeting where they
Have not,
spoke?
they were so adamant that it didn't make any sense to stir up any more plots.
That's interesting because I felt like, again, that was low hanging fruit. I felt like they were a homeowner that spoke passionately about their commitment to the historic value of their sites. Why not include them in the conversation, invite them in the conversation? But it's just my opinion. I saw that as a moment to invite them in. Did you want to say something?
No, I was gonna echo you, Mary. I was just curious about, I wasn't sure what the history was in terms of reaching out to these homeowners, because I could see if you just got a letter in the mail saying we're adding you to the district, that's it, and having a lot of misinformation about what that entails, kind of ends the conversation before it's even begun. And I think there is an opportunity, because I think this family is very community minded, very concerned with preserving their family's property, and it has a huge visual impact on the island. I think this is the most important zone we're considering for expansion. I just think I just wondered what the conversations had been with
And
the people in
We
this
saw
area.
2 letters, but there are also 5 more houses there. I've only seen 2 in opposition. What about the other 5? Did they?
I think we have at least
I saw
3 or 4 letters. And then, so the council sends certified letters, and then we all, I know I sent a letter to every homeowner in the 45 properties. I don't think we're gonna call 45 homeowners or anything, but
staff.
yeah, but maybe you could, if anyone has a relationship with the property owners, they could certainly reach out and have that conversation again. And
But again, I've only seen 2. Are there more in opposition in this neighborhood? I only saw 2 letters in opposition. 2
Yes.
neighbors out of 8 or 10. Or
I believe there were,
There was a
4
whole
or
group
5,
that
yeah.
showed up
There
that
were,
night.
there was,
Yeah.
No, but they were mostly from this one.
Sullivan
family.
House, yes.
Yeah.
there were other, no, there
There
were
were
other
others there that came also,
um,
but they were-
homeowners that you may or may not have known at that council meeting.
Okay,
Mhm.
I missed that.
May I ask a question? In those letters, were they interested in being part of it? Were they more frightened about not being part of it because they just didn't understand the the ramifications?
Their feeling, at least at the meeting, was that they take very good care of their property and they don't want any oversight. And I tried to say to them that it's not you, it's
Right.
if you when you sell the property, 30 years, 40 years from now. And they said, we're never gonna sell the property. It's always gonna be in our family."
I remember that, and I felt, again, like Claire is saying, I think, I don't want to re-say what she said, woman-splain you. Nothing. I'm just curious about, I'd like to hear more from them. They're a family that wants this to be protected
Well,
for generations.
I'm not opposed to
But-
doing all this, but I'm thinking to do the others first so that we see how it goes. And then we may want to ask them to come in and sit down and talk with us at some point next summer when they're out here and discuss what our concerns are, why we're interested in preserving this area for a historic district, and see if there's some common ground that we can find.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes me ask too, and forgive my ignorance here, when you send out the packet that they are sort of proposed to be part of this expansion, Is there language in that packet that explains what that means to them? And how can they, and do they have an opportunity to come in and talk about it with the HDC? What happens there to the, for the applicant in that letter?
I didn't see the
I,
packet. though.
I don't know. I didn't see the
No,
packet either.
we did recommend it as a planning board at the time when you first came to us.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I think
the letter is pretty general, but it offers, it states, it doesn't actually indicate that it's going to be their choice. It states that their input is recommended and welcomed. But it was kept pretty brief, the letter that went out to all
homeowners.
these property owners
From the council or?
from us.
From the planning board.
Historic District, and from the planning
Yeah,
board, I guess
yeah,
it was, or
yeah.
the town, basically, over people that their property may end up in the historic district.
Since this one is the controversial one.
Right.
Is there a way to sort of rework this and maybe that become area 3? And present it to the town that we're planning. And then discussions of expanding the district in 3 phases.
Mhm.
Oh, so you want to try
And then
that?
so that way, this third one gives us time
Time.
to really do the
Right.
inventory, do the outreach.
Right.
And then
And-
it dropped.
Education and
Yeah.
then.
And I wanna
set
see
the
how-
momentum.
Yeah, I want to see how the first two go.
Positive.
Yes,
Yeah.
it sheds
It's a
good light on
different
it.
spin that we, a different approach we can take.
I like that.
Yeah, and I think it gives
Yeah.
you the opportunity to control the narrative, right? I mean,
Right.
you're not seen as a group that's,
Ran
yes, you're
Yeah.
seen as a group as, I'm here for you, we're okay,
Community,
we're on it.
right.
So do we have a consensus that we want to move forward with areas, what's now 1 and 3?
Well, I'd like to rename the areas. I'd like to rename the areas.
Yeah,
But right now becomes 2.
right, but no, but right now,
Yeah.
We can, when we go back to our meetings and start the process, we can make new maps and rename things.
Yeah. Maybe you call them like area 1, and then dash, New Harbor.
yeah, but I'm looking for consensus with us right
Yeah,
now.
right now, I understand. I'm just thinking, be a little more specific. For example, somebody listening in has no idea what area 1 means.
It needs a name.
And needs a name, which
Okay.
New
That
Harbor
sounds
or
like
something
super
along
fun
that
thing.
line.
Yeah.
The number 2 could be
Exactly.
Old Town Road, just so we have a consensus of what we're doing, but also labeling so people know approximately what area of the island we're talking about.
So with that, we're gonna take it back to Historic District Commission.
And
And
We have lots of
Rewrite
little
that letter.
things to
I
do.
won't, I won't hear
Rewrite that letter.
So you guys.
we're gonna, and we will put it on the agenda
Oh,
when you're ready for us to, because we can take, if you get section 1
I
done.
think we need to take a step back, frankly, to get this really inventory and.
And it doesn't make any difference, Elizabeth, whether you bring it to us in April or you bring it to us in June.
Okay.
You know, it is what it is.
Good quarter.
Rewrite this letter too.
Now, who's gonna do the inventory? That's.
I think we could also, I mean, if you had specific properties that you wanted us to take a photo of, Amanda and I could do that, and then so you're looking at the property or on the aerial
That'd be nice.
photo, I don't know, I'm just thinking.
Well, let's,
You know, I mean, you go look at it.
who,
Anyhow, Shreveport, yeah.
that's,
Mary, could you just wait for that comes back to us?
Of course.
File,
Yeah.
sorry.
Just, can I take a picture?
I just want to,
Yeah.
is that
Because I think
something,
you're-
is that something the town planner would do, would be
What,
the inventory of
Yeah,
the
we
property?
should.
Or we?
No, we would, I mean, as far as photographing each lot, or you would, I think the Historic District Commission would weigh in on whether or not.
So we should each take a couple of properties from our commission, which we can.
Well, I think we'll talk about that at our next.
Yeah, I was gonna
meeting,
si-
but yeah, I think
sign-
we'll go to a little
yeah.
subcommittee or a little field outings or.
Whatever. And then we will, but I think we need to,
Who's next?
I think we need to talk about how we're gonna sell this idea of additional properties in
Mhm.
HDC, not just assume that everybody is on board, but how we can sell this and make sure people understand that this is a good thing that will benefit everybody, and not a regulation of what kind of brick you could use or what kind of paint you can put on your garage door. So I think we need to sell this,
Well-
not only for that, but also what HDC does in general.
So, yeah, what we're looking for is is information from the HDC for the town council that would be a legislative finding, so it's not as high a threshold as when there's an actual project in front of the board with, expert witnesses. This is just, passing the sniff test for the legislators so that they can confidently vote in favor of it, and that if there ever was a question in the future about why a property was added, there would be a written record of it.
So a written record for each piece of property, okay. All right, I like that.
All right, if there's no further actions, I would say we,
Make a motion.
I make a motion that the meeting be adjourned.
Second.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
This is a really good question. I really.
We needed to have it.
I just read some grapevines. 6 times I'll get paid. Done that.
And we will hold it.
What a bunch of old ladies we are.